Are you? Good, how are you?
I'm going to wait just a moment to bring the meeting to open the meeting. I'm going to open the Charter Township of Bedford Board Meeting, August 10th, 2023. It is 7 o'clock on the dot. First order of business is due to the supervisor being on an excused absence for this meeting, we need to have a motion to appoint a member to run the meeting, chair the meeting.
I'll motion to appoint trustee Beamish to preside over the meeting.
Support.
And we'll do a voice vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed?
All right. Well, let's get this meeting rolling. Let's start with a moment of reflection and lead into the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Supervisor Jones is excused. Clerk Baracco here. Treasurer Miller here. Trustee Hires is excused as well. Trustee Beamish
here.
Trustee Greenwood here. Trustee Daniel
Here.
We have 5 present and 2 excused.
All right, item 5, approval of the agenda. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the agenda for the August 10th, 2023 meeting as submitted.
If I may, make a friendly amendment on the clerical error. The resolution that we voted on 8/10/23/44 for Mr. Zozima's ZBA appointment. That should have been for the Board of Review. I don't know if you can address that, correct that.
So we need to move him from CBA to Board of Review.
Correct. You just looked at.
All right. We'll do that when we appoint Mr. Barron on 8/10/23/44. We need to vote on the friendly amendment. Anybody opposed? So under for Mr. Barron.
You should have been doing that on board of review. Those are Is it 44?
Yeah, 8/10/23/44.
Is that 44 for decision item?
That's for
To add to this agenda item.
so we can just take care of that same motion. That was last one. So it should be.
He was supposed to be put on board.
So it's not part of our agenda?
No, but
No.
we have a separate appointment, and so we want to make a friendly amendment to that.
Okay.
So
I thought it was written. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking for it, I can't find it.
Yeah, it works out in July, I don't know, but
Gotcha.
Okay, so just add 44.
Yes.
yeah, so 44. Because that will open up that position on the ZBA and click on Mr. Barron.
So are you entertaining the motion for approval?
Yeah.
No. I'll second.
Motion support. We should do a voice vote on approving that addition. Eric, you got anything?
I don't know seeing 44, I got a 44 on this agenda, but not last agenda. Where would I write that on?
So it's not on the last agenda, we're not
Okay.
altering the last agenda,
Okay,
we're just getting the agenda correct tonight.
gotcha. Okay, nope, got it.
Alright, Joyce, if you just call it voice.
Okay, voice. Go ahead, voice.
Yeah, we don't have to really go down the road.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Alright,
Five for this one. Okay, 5, yes. Motion carried.
and then approve the agenda, let's do that. Then I'll do it.
Sorry.
So Clerk Baraco, yes. Treasurer Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Beamish,
Yes,
Trustee Greenwood,
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
5 yes, motion carried.
thank you. Approval of the minutes from the July 13th, 2023 meeting, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the June, well, that should be July 13th. We gotta fix that. 1/6, should be July 13th. All right, we already got something fixed. Eric, you got that on your notes?
Got it.
All right, so approve the July 13th, 2023 minutes as submitted. With the correction on the date.
So moved.
Support.
Clerk Baraco, yes. Treasurer Miller,
Oh, discussion.
oh, excuse
Yes.
me. Discussion.
One fix. 16. Treasurer Mill, my comments. Just to make sure that I want supposedly, in between open and more. So it stated that her office is open supposedly more than the prior treasurer's, because I didn't keep track of her, I didn't stalk her, I didn't do nothing, I can't say for sure. Oh, so.
Supposedly
So
open more?
just still under
Yeah.
initial.
Okay.
That's supposedly,
Okay. Anything else?
that's,
All right, so you got those notes to correct that? Okay. Anything else, Eric?
that's.
All right, let's try that again. That's correct.
Clerk Baraco, yes. Treasurer Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Beamish,
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood,
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
5 yes, motion carried.
And since Joni is out, Dennis, you wanna take comments now, or do you wanna do it later during your time?
That's your pleasure, sir.
Go ahead and, if Joni's got some things you'd like to
Oh.
report on, go ahead and do that now.
Oh, okay, you're talking about my report. Okay. got it.
Well, supervisor comments, so if Joni's got something that she,
No.
No?
At this point, that's, yeah, that I had received for you.
alright, so we'll skip over that, and then when it gets to your time, you do whatever you want to.
Yes, sir.
Alright, this time we'll have public comment on the agenda items only. You all know how to behave and conduct yourselves appropriately. I'm not gonna hammer on that. Please, be respectful of everybody in the room. There's lots of different opinions in here, and everybody's opinion matters. You got 3 minutes to talk, you come to the podium, and Chief or Bruce, can somebody move that thing out? And Mr. Schatz, you gonna lead us off?
Yes, sir. First agenda item I wanted to speak on was the solar ordinance. It's time to set the record straight again, because many times in this township it's been in question. The existing ordinance before this forced review and forced change and revisions and more changes and all this, the original ordinance had a stipulation at the end of the ordinance that held any corporation or any business or any commercial interest to the same standards as a mere peasant, as a property owner, as a citizen. And so that makes it to where, just by what was already existing previously in the ordinance, the setbacks, the, different conditions, mainly there was a condition about how much of the property can be covered by solar equipment. And it pretty much would make it probably not a profitable venture for someone to have a solar farm, because we left our existing solar ordinance in place. Now, about that fact, Many of the board members, including the supervisor, have outright lied, bald-faced lied on video repeatedly, and said that such was not the case. That we were in fact putting a new ordinance forward to further protect us from commercial solar. But that's a lie. One of the board members, Mr. Beamish, finally admitted that we were doing this so that we would not be sued by Consumers Energy. And many times they've had their lobbyists and different agents sitting here in our meetings like they are tonight to bully, harass, and intimidate us into moving in the direction that they want us to. But that's not the way America's supposed to work. We've spoken to local representatives in high positions about this, and they said that the representatives of Bedford should act like Americans and represent the people. And if Consumers is gonna sue them, let them have their day in court and let people see what they're up to. If the people are for it, why are we afraid to tell them the truth? I also notice on the agenda there is a correspondence from Consumers Energy right on our agenda. I find that objectionable because just yesterday one of my older neighbors came up to me and he said, you know, I wrote a letter to Bedford back in February and I asked for a response. So no one has ever responded to me in any way. So I've been paying taxes here for 40 years.
Thank you, Mr. Schott. Anybody else? Comments on the agenda? Mr. Moore?
Good morning, Greg Moore, Consumers Manager of Consumers Energy. I do have a copy of the letter that was sent from our Director of Real Estate Acquisitions, so I won't belabor that. You have that to read, and hopefully we'll consider the comments that he's put forward, which are very similar to those comments he put forward in the past. I'll remind the board and everybody in the audience that for decades we have been a corporate citizen in this community. A very large taxpayer, definitely the largest or one of the largest taxpayers, and landowners in this community. We are a corporate citizen of this community. I myself have worked with the current supervisor and previous supervisors to solve many problems in this community that have come up regarding electric service or relocation of poles, work in the parks, whatever it happens to be. That's my job, and I take it very seriously. So we are here to serve the community, and this particular facility that we're looking to site in partially in Bedford and partially in Johnstown Township will continue to do that. Now, I did allude to last time, one of the things I look to when I go through the ordinance, and Brad's group has the benefit of working and looking at ordinances all across the state of Michigan. So we're very familiar with various ordinance provisions, and he's pointed out that some of the things that you list in your intention, your purpose, which is to encourage. You're encouraging solar, right? But your ordinance doesn't actually do that. And so those are the things we're trying to point out. That there's inconsistency in your ordinance, and I think one of the big things, in particular, the most egregious provision becomes a 1,000-foot setback for inverters, which we've not seen anywhere in the state of Michigan. And if you take the approximately 424 acres that are available currently that we have, based on your ordinance, we would be down to 2.5 acres of usable land for inverters, and it's not contiguous. That in and of itself runs directly contrary to the language in your ordinance that says you want to encourage the safe, effective, efficient, and orderly development and operation of solar. It doesn't do that. It does just the opposite. So that one provision of all provisions, we hope that you will seriously take a look, because it seems to have been totally arbitrary from the minutes we've seen from the Planning Commission and other minutes, that it didn't come from any particular recommendation for any safety reason, because everywhere else we put inverters, it's just as safe, and we don't have a 1,000-foot setback. So please do consider that one in particular before you vote this evening, and if you have any questions, I'm here to assist in any way that I can. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Anybody else? Exactly, you were jumping up.
No, no. Go ahead. You first.
Mr. Stein?
So with regards to the comments that we just heard and that letter that we just were referred to from consumers, I did kind of prepare a little statement, but I think, I will just shoot off of the hip there. Mr. Moore just said that there was no ordinance that had 1,000-foot setback for inverters, and I am currently holding one of 3 that exist that do have that. I will read a portion of my statement, I guess, in the sense that, the planning commission used several solar ordinances from other Michigan townships where consumers' energy and other entities conduct solar activities, or want to. And we use those in comparison and contrast to improve our ordinance as we move along. There was also a reference in the letter that you guys received to that planning and zoning for solar energy systems, a guide for Michigan local governments, in which a generic example of a setback, which I view to be unreasonable, again, just an example was used in there. I have that here as well. So we didn't just come up with these numbers out of nowhere. The planning commission reviewed many ordinances, some that were favorable, some that were, I guess, what you would call not favorable. But we did not just come up with these numbers on our own. And I think it's very important that the board realizes that the planning commission spent several months reviewing multiple ordinances to better ours in our opinion. I would also like to point out that there's a lot of focus about industry standards. We have communications from consumers that were given to us after we voted to send it over to the board, when that information would have been relevant beforehand, where they reference 50 feet, they reference 100 feet. The county in your notes that you guys have references 75 feet. There are many ordinances that say 200 feet. There are many that say 300 feet. I don't know about the board, but when you talk about a standard would be one set number across the board. And that's not what we found when we reviewed ordinances or even had communications from other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stein. Anyone else on agenda items? Yes, sir?
Steve Couch, Colonial Drive. As far as the solar systems, we can all go look near Marshall, and you can look down 13 Mile Road. You can look along a lot of different areas that are all agricultural, that thousands of acres has now been cleared off, and all you'll see is steel poles and lots of solar panels. So my problem is Bedford Township is a agricultural community. We're not an industrial community. For one, if we need power and they have to put solar panels, I have a perfect house that's got a roof that faces the south, perfect for putting solar panels on. Why can't I do that? But they won't support that because there's no money in it. Why don't they build on sides of hills that are sloping, that are wooded, that face the south? No, they would rather use nice, flat agricultural land that we can no longer grow on, but we can always eat solar panels, right? They're delicious. And in 20 or 30 years from now, when they're outdated and they have to be replaced, where are we gonna dump them? Which facility? We're gonna recycle them? As far as I understand, there is no way to recycle them. So we're gonna dump them. Kind of like the windmills, the carbon fiber blades that are being dumped in the ground and being buried because we can't recycle them. At what point are we gonna grow up as adults and realize that there's better ways of doing things, and this is not it? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else for public comment on agenda items? Mr. Heckler?
Adam Heckler, former supervisor. Officer of the Valley.
say some stuff so that she can hopefully respond during her time here. Let's see, your Michigan election law, 168.368, events created a vacancy in the township. We were alerted of a situation here that you were investigating, so I've got some help for you. This law here says the township office becomes vacant upon the happening of any of the following events: death of the incumbent, his resignation, his removal from office for cause, his ceasing to be a resident of the township where his office is located. We can just stop right there, because we actually have a recording I can play.
Actually, Mr. Heifel, would you like to move on to something that's actually on the agenda?
Yeah, this is so that she can respond, and it's on the agenda, so you can give me just a moment here.
Her comments are not dictated by you, so you move on to something else, or you return to your seat.
Mr. Demus, you know what this is about, and so you want to.
All right. First warning, because you're not gonna argue with me. Either talk about the agenda or move on. You're welcome to return to your seat.
Officer LaValle is coming up to speak here, and Officer LaValle, you investigated Mr.
Mr.
Demus.
Heifel, second warning.
Mr.
We're not here.
Demus had-
We're not here to debate what you want to talk about. This is not on the agenda. And you are not going to dictate what Mr. LaValle talks about.
Well,
Would you like to sit down now?
she is
Would you like
on the
to move?
agenda and is an agenda item.
So,
And I'm a resident here that has.
All right.
No, you, please,
Mr.
we're
LaValle,
talking here.
I'm giving plenty of warnings. This is not on the agenda. I'm not gonna tolerate it.
You've got to be kidding.
So you might,
This is not how
No.
you get to control meetings, guys. This
You
is
are not talking about
how
the
you're
agenda.
gonna violate my rights, and you're gonna be sued.
he needs to be removed.
Do you understand this, Seth? Another lawsuit. Seth, can you understand it? Instruct the officer.
You're absolutely kidding.
He was talking about it.
You understand that this is about him and his violation of not living here. You
I'm gonna
understand
ask
this,
you
right?
one more time. You're
You
absolutely
understand that you're gonna come out and take and record this evidence right now, then, right? You gonna do that? Sergeant will come do it, right? Gammon? You're a good guy, right? Gammons? Try. You try. Well, let's go and see.
About an agenda item.
For an agenda item, because they made him.
All right, anybody else want to talk about something on the agenda?
They made him the chair because he
The board
doesn't
agenda, not
want to be
personal agenda.
exposed that he no longer
Anything
lives
else?
here. He does not live in the township, and you all need to step up and say that he needs to resign. Every board member.
I can't hear.
You officers.
I think we can move on. All right, communications. We've got the draft of July 15th meeting minutes, check disbursement, check register, budget report, all that kind of stuff. Y'all got that in the packets?
Yes.
All right. So, let's move on to item 10. All right, finance resolution 810-2340. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Township of Bedford to approve payment of expenses totaling $171,410.19. So moved.
Support.
Any questions, discussions on that? Ms. Miller, clerk? All right, let's call the roll if you would.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Daniel.
Yes.
Clerk Bronco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Demus.
Yes.
5 yes, motion carried.
All right. We'll come back to Officer LaValle since she's kind of tied up. Chief? Your turn.
Alrighty. Well, same thing, well, some stuff there, medicals is dominating the whole thing, I haven't much of anything else, too much, but we are into the 700 mark now. And the possibility, the way it's going, we might go over what we have in the last 2 years, record and stuff in there, but this morning, we did have a little structure fire about 9:30, call come in, the house was on fire and smoke and was rolling out behind it around 9:37 down there by the glass company. So when we got there, smoke was coming out around the eaves and stuff, and there was fire in the wall and stuff. The lady, the night before, had dumped some hot coals out of the pots that were they're cooking it on the deck, right beside the house. So, all through the night, and kind of simmered a little, burned a big hole in there, went down, got in and started burning the house on the wood, and between the wood and the siding that was on there. So when the truck first got there, we pulled the engine, we pulled the pipe pole out there and ripped all the siding off of there to get to where the fire was, put the fire on out, and we got the smoke all quit out and stuff. So another hour, there'd been a big fire, but that was a no-no what she done, and I think she probably learned her lesson on that situation and stuff like that. Another great thing that I'd like to talk a little bit about tonight is a little history of the fire department has made in the past many years ago. When a young lady come onto the fire department, she had to go through everything as the men did, through the schooling and everything. She got passed the test and everything, and got certified, and she was the first lady to be certified in the township here on the fire department and stuff. This last Sunday, we had a drill, as we do every first drill of the month and stuff. All the officers got together and we discussed a little situation of promotion of someone to a lieutenant, because I lost another lieutenant earlier at one of the stations, so I need to fill that spot. So unanimously, everybody choose this one young lady to go have, take the spot. She has been on the department not too long, but she's a go-getter. She does everything she knows, and she's getting in there going and stuff, and she'll even get after the men and make them do a little work and stuff. So she's not afraid to do that and stuff. So I appreciate her. I've known her a long time. So we did come in and we promoted this young lady to a lieutenant on this department here. So that's the first time in the history of the Becker Township Fire Department it's got an elected officer, which is a lady. So, Sue. She's not afraid to get in there and fight the fire and everything else and cut the trees and everything else. So, real proud of her, and it's an honor to give her a little badge for making her a lieutenant and stuff. So, I really do appreciate her. She's a good girl, so.
Chief.
Thank you.
Chief, what badge number does she have?
511. Used to be my. Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
That's my sister.
Thanks, Chief.
Johnson.
Mr. McKinley, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, I want to start off by saying, Steve, that's a tough act to follow, I'll tell you that. I'm going to give the monthly superintendent action report, but I'm going to kind of summarize it so I don't take so long.
All right.
There are some things that we've been working on with the new web designer. We hope to have a new website up. They're running shortly. We've been talking about different updates that I've been talking with different department heads about different updates that we need and want to make. Some corrections on the current website. So we're moving forward with that. There was some correspondence that was supposed to go out successfully. Was accomplished by me and clerk about the solar ordinance and the rental ordinance. We are working on the budget as we speak. The deadline for the department heads to have the budget meeting was August 1st. We have those in. So that is a work in process. We will be talking with the department heads in the next week or so to move that budget process forward. We have like 4 vacant positions open at this time. Fortunately, we have a interim building and zoning administrator who's sitting to my right, and he's been doing a very capable job. And hopefully will be an applicant for our safety position. We also have the section position at cemetery. The assessor position, we have candidates for that position, and we're in talks with them to bring one on board as soon as possible. Ms. Boonville, our current assessor, will be leaving at the end of the month. Our co-compliance position, unfortunately for us, is going to be a big shoes to fill. Mike Savio, our co-compliance officer, is also leaving at the end of the month. Mike does a great job for us. He's so compliance, he talks with neighbors, he works with neighbors. Mike has been a great asset for the township. And I hate seeing that. On last month's agenda, there was some unfinished business regarding the solar ordinance to be published. That was accomplished last month. Also, there was issue that was unfinished with the duties of the deputies, both deputy treasurer, deputy clerk. That was also turned in, and I assume that that is still being reviewed by the city township attorney. I'm sorry. And we should have some finality to that in short order, I will believe. Another item that was brought up was with Maynard Casterian and working with them to help streamline our processes. That work is in progress. We actually have a meeting scheduled with Maynard Casterian August 14th. The department heads and myself and the supervisor will meet with them to review our current processes and to hopefully improve the processes. I talked with the representative from Maynard Casterian, and she is looking to make a big change. She don't want to make incremental, she wants to make a big change. She said she sees opportunity there because we have the technology in place. Last thing I want to end on is personnel issues. It kind of goes into some of the other things that I wanted to talk about. We have a personnel policy that is going to be reviewed, is being reviewed by myself, township attorney. As I look into other township ordinances to update our policies that were written a long time ago, Beth has suggested that I review other township ordinances and kind of mimic some of their stuff, and I will continue to review that moving forward. Well, I was going to do that, but I'm not. The other thing is, it's a big issue for me. As I alluded to earlier, we have a lot of technology in place. I don't know if we're utilizing it to its fullest capacity, and we're going to be investigating that as we try to move forward with the digitization of our current records so that they're more easily searchable and able for residents to access the ordinances online, and also for us to do our work internally more efficiently. That's what I have to do today.
Thank you.
Yes.
Officer Lavelle?
Yes.
We'll come back to you now.
Alright, so for the month of July, our calls for service was a total of 345 calls for Bedford Township. Some incidents I want to talk about today, there was a break-in and entering incident that occurred near Birdsell Drive and Stephen Lane. Officers arrived and were able to secure the residence, and he arrested one female that had broken into the residence. There was another break-in and entering incident near N37 Road. It was a vacant home. The home was put up for sale, and suspects broke in through the sliding glass door. I guess for citizens of Bedford, if you're putting up your home for sale, you can always request extra patrols on it. So we have extra eyes, and so we know as a department that it possibly will be vacant, so we can do extra patrols around it to make sure it's secure. We're still getting multiple larcenies near West Michigan Ave, Yieldrix Road in regards to mail being stolen out of mailboxes. So, we took another larceny near Hussey Ave and West Michigan Ave. There was an individual driving around and had stolen a dog. We did find the stolen dog, and charges will be submitted at a later date for the suspect. There's multiple reports for stolen vehicles in the area of West Michigan Ave and Swedish Drive. These vehicles are not just like vehicles as cars, SUVs. They've been mopeds and four-wheelers that people have been leaving out in their front yards or backyards. So I would recommend, if you guys do have those recreational vehicles, that they need to be locked up in a secured area at night. And then there's, a couple reports for retail frauds on M37 Road. Apparently people are, stealing approximately 10 plus gallons of laundry detergent at these businesses. So we are still investigating why they are taking laundry detergent. So we had multiple arrests this month in regards to domestic violence assaults, operating while intoxicated, and of course the warrants and the breaking and entering incidents.
Busy stuff.
That's it.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, building official Mark Hayers is out. Karen, do you have anything on that, or you want to roll that into your building and zoning?
I can just address it during building and zoning, thank you.
All right, so Karen Lewis, our interim building and zoning admin, appreciate you coming on board. It's good to meet you the other day.
Yeah, thank you very much, I appreciate you folks.
Roll with what you've got.
Well, there was a slight delay in issuance of permits. I'm contacting people back and attempting to get them answers as efficiently as possible, researching their situations, and I've been in contact with Mike with the Planning Commission and just getting the ball rolling in a correct direction and bringing together all of the spokes for the wheel that needs to be in place for proper hearings, notifications, and moving forward in the correct direction. I've been in contact with Seth and just trying to provide all of our applicants with the best service and correct information heading out the door as possible. That being said, there was, as everyone here is aware in the office, there was a slight catch-up period where we did not overlap in our duties, and so there is a window of catch-up. So I appreciate everybody's patience and understanding during this time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And of course, Mr. Savio is not available, and Ms. Pudo's not available. Mr. Stein.
Well, let's go up there. Oh, I'm in the front row, right? So we had a busy meeting last month at the Planning Commission. You've got a conditional use request in front of you guys that we recommend for approval. I talked about the training the last two times I've been up here, and I am finally happy to report we have nailed Mr. Raphael down on that. So the joint training session will be set for September 7th at 5 p.m. We will post for that. Obviously, that is considered a open meeting.
What date is that for?
I do not know what day it's called. I think that's a Thursday. I think. We were initially trying to do something a little bit later in the month, but the only way Raphael could be there was if we did it on the 7th, and I felt it was pretty important to have that continuity because he's working with us on the zoning ordinance, obviously, to do that. Other than that, I would also like to say that working with Karen has been great. She has been very attentive, gets back to me very promptly, and has been a very good asset. Even if it's temporary, we hope not, but it was a good move for that office to be filled that effort.
Good.
Thank you.
Did you come out as a Thursday?
Thursday, September 7th.
And that's the board and planning commission together, correct?
The board, the planning commission, and the ZBA.
And ZBA, okay. Very good, thank you, sir. You're up, Danielle.
Hey everybody, thanks to everyone that came out for movie night back in June, and to those who helped get the park lighting and mulch updated out there, yay. New trash cans and picnic tables are here for Skeets, and I'm letting you all know, we, the committee, are happy to help, with any construction or installation stuff that you all need help with. And, any ideas for redeploying any of the old tables that are still good. out to some of the other parks. We can help with that, so just let me know what you need. And we are looking forward to our fall festival in Skeet-Sherman Park, and that's gonna be Saturday, September 30th. And we'll have the community parade kick it off at 10:30 in the morning, and that'll go from 10:30 to about 11. And then the festival will happen in the park from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. And I do need to talk to Officer LaValle probably about the parade and the routes and maybe leading the parade out for us. And then we're gonna have music by the Hoot Owls, which will be a lot of fun. They're kind of a foot stomping folk band, and they do really family friendly, fun music for the kids. And they're even gonna bring some instruments for the kids to play, and they'll be playing for the entire festival from 11 to 2, and help us MC the event also. And we're going to have a bunch of different inflatable, like, bouncy attractions. And we are looking for a business sponsorship for those attractions. So if you know anybody that would like to sponsor one or more of those inflatables, please let me know, send them my way. We are going to do the chili cook-off, second annual chili cook-off, so chefs, get your recipes ready. We're actually going to have a cash prize and a trophy for the winner this year. So be looking for those applications to come out for both the parade and the chili cook-off. Like I said, we're looking for sponsors for the festival, as well as volunteers to help us man the different inflatable things and run the chili cook-off and things like that. So please let me know or get a hold of us through the Facebook group. We should be hearing on the DNR Spark Grant applications by, I'm hoping, early September. And I'm also working with the committee and DNR Fisheries to start putting together a competitive pre-proposal for the Skeet stream work for submission in November. So it's the pre-proposal in November, and then if we're invited to, we'll have to submit a full proposal. It's right before Christmas, like December 19th or something like that. And then we're hoping to have next year's event schedule all ready and put up for everybody by, late fall, or early winter. But just to give you an idea of what we're looking at for next year is a spring cleanup, but out in Markham Park this year. And we're gonna hope to have a music night in June. That'll have a duck race fundraiser out at Skeet-Sherman Park, where we use the stream and actually have a little duck race, so that should be fun. Everybody's bringing their ducks to the meetings this month, so we can test run them. And then we'd like to do a back to school movie night a little bit later in the summer or early fall, so we don't have to contend with with the sunlight quite so late. And we're hoping to have that over at Algonquin Park this year, and then ending with the fall festival, just to kind of give you an idea. And then of course, going after any grants. And for those of you that are interested, Clerk Baracco did print this out for us. Please feel free to grab a flyer and take it home and share it with your friends for this fall. So, and I think that's all I have for tonight. About 45 minutes.
One of the picnic tables is outside in this lot right now.
Oh,
One of the new ones, if anyone wants to see it.
Oh, good, yay. Cool. How many have they gotten put together so far? Okay. Is Jason still, is it still okay to contact Jason, or is he moved on to?
You can try.
Okay.
You can try.
Thank you, Dana. So tonight we have both of our government folks. Mr. Hosmer, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Trustee Beamish. Thank you, members of the board and Administrator McKinley and understaff. I'm Jim Hosma. I am pleased to report that the legislature passed our 23-24 budget in the appointed time before the end of June 2023. The governor signed that budget on July 31, 2023. In context of enhancement grants to our Battle Creek and surrounds community, there
our enhancement grants of $7 million for the BCU for a drone park infrastructure. I'm excited about that, and how that I am confident is going to lead to a lot of economic long-term benefit for our community, and the port infrastructure in context of Benton Aviation, the new College of Aviation, WACO, and Air National Guard. $1.7 million for the Human building, which is owned by the city. So I'm hopeful that that will be reused. I'm still hopeful it will be reused as a natural history museum. I'm excited about that important jewel in our community being reused and not fall into greater deterioration as it's fallen into since at least 2020. There is in Springfield $750 that's allocated for improvements, parking lot roof, HVAC. We're at the Burma Center, which is an increasingly important hub in the Springfield area. $500,000 to pay down debt at the Bowman Theater in downtown Albion. I was in downtown Albion for city council meeting on Monday, and then we did the Bowman afterward. The Bowman Theater is an important anchor in downtown Albion for all kinds of activities there, and that will allow the Bowman Theater to focus on more events, more theater, more musical performances, as opposed to having to worry about how to make sure they're going to pay the mortgage. And then finally, Star Commonwealth over at Sheridan Township received $300,000. That's for families and children services, curricula, and I'm excited with how they're reinventing themselves and how they continue to reinvent themselves in relation to Star Commonwealth campus and the outreach of Star Commonwealth. Any questions, if anyone has any, either that stuff or any other things going on in Lansing?
Read the MTA flyer already, the overview of the budget and a little, got that all right.
Thank you for doing that, Trustee Miller, I appreciate that. Thank you.
We only had one meeting since we were here last. We canceled our first August meeting due to lack of new business we needed to be addressed. Did chair the Parks and Recreation Committee, and I'm happy to report that a Bedford resident, Ben Geis, I believe is the name, Geis or Geisy. That's the official way to say his name, and I apologize for not knowing him. But he was appointed to the Parks and Rec Commission. So you'll have a veteran resident on that group that helps guide and make recommendations. So glad that we were able to expand outside of other areas and some folks with input. He has a history of being a U.S. Park Ranger, so he brings some unique perspective to park management and his expertise. At the last meeting, we heard the results of our audit from Riemann. Again, an unmodified opinion, which is the highest you can achieve. We continually receive awards from the state of Michigan and Treasury, mostly for our compliance in audits, and also because we post much more information publicly than is required by law, so that we're transparent about where dollars are going and how they're spent. And the last thing is we adopted a new policy about the amount of our general fund. So Michigan Treasury has put out a guidance that they want everyone's general funds to be higher than they are now if they're below a 15% threshold. So we're in the 8 to 12 range, and we're typically around that 11 to 12% mark. We put money into the fund balance every year that I've been in office, with the exception of one, where we had to pull about 100,000 out. We've certainly exceeded that in the other years. The new policy will allow us to meet growing costs, as you've experienced and citizens certainly experienced, and give us a better cushion to be able to manage month-to-month costs and cash flow, so that we have reserves to draw from without having to ever draw down into lines of credit or take out loans to pay bills. So we're very future liabilities are managed very well, and well within the expectations and heading in the right direction. So that's a good thing. Of course, those two biggest inputs to that are pension funds and future retiree healthcare. We moved retiree healthcare into an HSA so that folks that are retired are gonna have the availability of healthcare, but they'll be able to get what's best for them versus us putting forward a plan or a policy that they could buy. We'll put dollars in an HSA and they can use that to make their own decisions based on their situation. So, and as far as the pensions, all of our pensions are now closed to new hires. We negotiated that with our unions. All 9 unions have done that. And then we bonded, closed our unfunded future liabilities moving forward. So we've pretty much set our payments, barring any major catastrophes in the market, that will manage those payments moving forward until everybody who is eligible to draw from the pension will, at that point, be gone and not be drawn. So that's a long time down the road, but hopefully for most of them, especially the new retirees. But good management of fiscal policy. We've maintained our public rate for bond performance, so that's where the county stands. Any questions for me?
Good luck on the roads.
Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Mr. Godey?
I'm here to talk to you today about.
No, wait, you're right. No, you're already going, so go. We'll get Mrs. Davis next.
Okay. Here tonight to talk about, a little bit about, a proposal that we have, to implement a new, employee software for our environmental mess calls. We're mandated by national and state laws to report on a monthly basis. So currently, we use a software company called Emergency Reporting. We've been with them for 10 years. This company, ESO, bought them out 2 years ago, and they've supported emergency reporting since then. So at the end of this year, the company that we're using, that we've been with the last 10 years, that software won't be supported, won't be compliant. So that's forced us to have to look at other software reporting companies that specifically take care of fire and EMS calls. Assistant Chief Woodward and myself, over the last couple of months, have been attending webinars and talking with different vendors. And the 3 of them were first due, which we haven't got a bid back on those. I will say that Township just went with them, and their annual cost for their reporting software, it does other things, but it's $10,000 a year. We're currently paying roughly $3,500 for what we're doing for our reporting software today. Plus, we also have a phone app that alerts us to calls that we pay per person. And the reason I say that is because the companies that we elected to go with or look at, they had to meet certain criteria. One, they do payroll, so it helps the clerk take care of payroll on a monthly basis for the firefighters. So there was only one company that did that at the current time, and that was Emergency Networking. Emergency Networking Company was formed from the people that developed emergency reporting and were bought out by ESO. So it kind of goes back and forth. So the proposals that we have and the bids we have from ESO, and if you ask me the name, I'll tell you their name is ESO. It doesn't stand for anything other than ESO. By the end of our 3rd year with the contract with them, it'll just be under $9 grand a year. And they don't have a mobile app for our firefighters. And the reason that's important is we all have radio pagers, but we don't know who's responding to where and when at any given time without those. So for instance, if there was a fire call, they would check in saying I'm responding to either a station, a scene, etc. So we know either not to wait for someone else to get here, etc. So we know who's responding at any given time. And again, the only other one was Emergency Network that offered everything that we currently have, plus electronic grid checks and the payroll part for the clerk. The Emergency Network cost, and the reason
is a little high is because of the cost of onboarding. So the cost of onboarding is $1,500 basically to onboard with them. On an annual basis, that cost to us, including everything that we wanted, will only be $3,715 with a guarantee not to ever go up by 5% every year. So we basically get to do everything we have and only be within $125 of currently what we're paying. So we have to switch. The sooner we switch, the better, because this is not just localized to Michigan or this county, it is a countrywide thing about the compliance part of this that have to be reported. There's just some companies that are just not gonna be in business any longer because they're not gonna support what needs to be compliant with. So I would like actually you guys tonight to support or entertain a resolution to enter into a contract with Emergency Networking. Again, it is the cheapest out of all the vendors that we've searched out. The other nice thing about Emergency Networking is that they agreed to cut all the prices by 30% if we had at least 10 departments within the county to come on board with them, and they honored their contract. So I do know that the city of Battle Creek Fire Department has entered into a contract with them for their services. Emmett Township is going to do it. Newton Township's going to do it. Marshall City's done it. And then, of course, us, if you guys would support that tonight and get that ball going. I believe Johnstown Township up in Berry County is going to go with this program. So at the end of the day, we had at least 10 people, 10 departments that went with this emergency networking. So they were able, and they honored, even though I couldn't put a yes nod to this, they were able to give, and they're still going to give us the 30% off of that. So the total cost for onboarding for emergency networking will be it's here. I think it's $5,265 here, or $5,258 even. So, and again, that's only that $1,500 is added on to the $3,700 is a one-time deal because it takes care of all the data and everything we have and to onboard all our training records, all our call records, so everything stays maintained. So we won't lose any of that. So again, it's going to take a couple months for them to onboard us. Again, their words is do it sooner than later because as they get towards the end of the year, they're not going to be able to guarantee to get us on and be compliant starting January 1st. So again, I'd like to, if you guys want to entertain a proposal to allow us to enter into a contract with Emergency Networking tonight, that would be great. Do you have any questions for me about that?
That sounds great.
Currently,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
So Matt, is there an upcharge for each firefighter that has it on their phone?
Well, currently we pay per person. With this emergency networking, it's all provided and we can have many users we want and have them remove them.
And then, second question, I know previously in the bay, there's the big screen that it would show where the cars were.
Yes, actually, I know we talked about, yes, we'll be, with this proposal, we will have 2 station monitors, so they can be up on the walls. And the other thing with that, it's not just, you know, they'll throw in whatever you want to throw in, but it has weather, it can have news events, it can have all this stuff, but it will display all the calls that
Well, it is a little bit concerning when we're here and then we see the trucks roll out and then we see more trucks roll out and we have no idea where you are.
We're busy.
If you're safe.
Yeah, we're busy.
If it's a fire, if it's, you know, we have no idea.
Yeah. The other thing with this compliancy part of it is that under the new protocols that are coming out, they're supposed to be approved by medical control. Anything that we do to a patient that's invasive has to be reported within 24 hours. We won't be able to do that if we're not compliant. And a good example of that, and what's invasive to a patient is anything that we put into them. Putting into them, it means we stick into their body. One of the things that we've been able to do over the course of the last 6 months is that we were able to get our people trained. Everyone heard of EpiPens for allergic reactions?
Mm-hmm.
So part of the problem is that the cost of EpiPens are astronomical. And we can't just go to the store and get them. We have to get a prescription first, but because we are licensed fractions. So part of the problem is that the cost of EpiPens are astronomical. And we can't just go to the store and get them. We have to get a prescription first, but because we are a licensed DMS agency, we have to follow the pharmacy rules. Under the Medical Control Authority, we have to get our meds from the hospital. They made it, the Medical Control Authority made it, it was, their use of the wording would be, it's optional equipment. So if we wanted to do it, yes, you could get this, we had to get the epinephrine from the hospital the way they're gonna dispose it to you, which is the auto injectors. No one wanted to pay $450 per auto injector, and you had to have at least two for each vehicle that's licensed. We have 5 licensed vehicles that can take medical calls in this township. So you're looking at roughly $900 just in epinephrine times 5. So no one, there was only one department in the county that used epinephrine pens, or EpiPens as they call them, because you have to have one for adult and one for children. I went to medical control back in September and threw a proposal out there to allow us to do draw epi. So the actual cost of that draw epi is $5. That's the needle, the medicine, and everything included that we need to do to administer it. It costs $5 instead of $450. So we opted into that. Remember KCC, Kellogg Community College, and set up a training program, a countywide training program. There's only been 4 fire departments in the county that have taken advantage of this, and we were the first one. And 3 weeks ago, we were up on Pine Tree for a gentleman that got stung multiple times by a bee. And he was unconscious. It was what we call agonal breathing, which is not effective. And you couldn't feel a pulse or couldn't hear blood pressure. We took him out of the garage, started breathing for him, airway adjuncts to help us breathe for him. We were able to give that drop epi, which we didn't have, and it saved his life. When the ambulance got there, they were able to give Benadryl, steroids. By the time he got to the hospital, he was way clear from top. So those calls have to be reported within 24 hours. We don't have an option of that. So we want to stay compliant. We don't want to go over that mark. So there's a lot of good things that the fire department's done for the community as far as medical goes, because we do take a lot of medicals, but we want to stay compliant. So if you guys would, entertain a motion to approve us to enter into that contract with them, we'd certainly appreciate it. Any other questions?
Matt,
Yes.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Just so we're clear,
Mm-hmm.
the total quote, it expires on the 31st, roughly 89.73, and you said no more than an additional 5%?
So with emergency, or the ESO company, at the end of the 3-year contract, we'd be paying just under $9,000. It's $8,887.50.
Okay.
With emergency networking, after the initial onboarding, it's only going to be $3,715.50, and they will never go up more than 5% every year.
Okay, I understand.
You're advocating for the emergency networking?
Emergency networking, yes, sir.
Now, why them over the ESO?
Number one, the cost.
Cheaper, but.
Yeah, number one, the cost. 2, we're able to have the same systems that we already have with our emergency reporting system. 2, we won't have to develop a new payroll system for the firefighters, because the clerk can just jump in, take care of the payroll right out of this system like she does now. I'm not exactly sure how you do that, but our hours and all our time cards are kept on that, on emergency reporting. She would have the same system in place, learning curve. We're all gonna have learning curves with new software, but she'll be able to do payroll. No other company right now has or supports that yet. No other company allows us to have phone apps, which means we can eliminate the cost of the one we have now that's rolled right into the emergency networking. So we'll be eliminating our phone apps and paying that fee, and we'll just pay one and be done.
How long does this take to implement?
That's up to them. So they'll actually send us out, once we enter the contract, I don't know the exact process, what they're gonna do, whether they send you the invoice or whatever, to guarantee you that we're gonna jump on board. They'll set up trainers with us for firefighters that are available to attend the webinar to learn how to use the program. They will give us the program to use, and we'll be in a training phase for at least a month or two to make sure everyone's comfortable using it before we do the switch. And we've already paid for emergency reporting to next April, I believe, is when those are due. So, time it takes to switch over, we just have to, send them a correspondence that we're no longer using their service, and that's a 60-day. They'll continue to support it or keep us on board with the current place we have for 60 days. So we have to wait for this to be in place before we can leave the other one.
The ESO is paid through April,
The emergency reporting is currently paid through April.
and ESO bought.
ESO bought them out, yes. So, and as of January 1st, they won't be supported. So, we get out, we just wanna get out before they stay compliant.
But they're being a refund for paid through April, but they don't support.
I believe, I'll have to find that out, but I believe they will reimburse us for the months we haven't used.
So, so he's asking for.
It's just, I'm sorry, Barry, that's a 60-day notice we have to give them, and then we'll work with what they owe us to reimburse us for.
60-day notice for emergency reporting.
To get emergency report to end the contract with them, yes.
So you gotta, yeah, February then. Okay, so he's asking for us to take some action tonight.
Yes, sir.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
Do we need a motion or a formal resolution?
Motion's fine. And so it's kind of new thrown at us, we can definitely take it up next month, or if somebody wants to entertain that motion.
No, probably should get this done and out of the way. He's already done a lot of research, that we're only gonna cost him headaches, you know. It's done in January. I mean, he's made the minutes on board and the program, probably should get this done.
Completely agree with Erica. Sounds like they've already done all the homework, they've got the facts, the numbers.
Yeah, motion to,
Let's keep spinning around.
I'm ready. Motion to, did you call it emergency network?
Emergency network, yeah.
All right, motion to, switch to the emergency network for the fire department. Or allow the fire department. to
Authorize
switch.
this. This is what you
Do you need any more details?
Emergency network. You got that?
Can I just add in, according to bid proposal and quote provided? Just so we're clear. You okay?
According to bid proposal and
Quote provided.
Let's read that back, show the Eric on the screen.
Okay, motion to enter into a contract with emergency reporting, or emergency networking reporting.
Yeah.
According to the bid proposal and quote provided.
According to the bid proposal and quote provided. Motion to enter into a contract with emergency networking according to the bid or proposal provided and bid.
Sounds great.
I'll second.
Alright, was everybody clear on the motion? Yes. Further discussion inside of it then? Moved and supported. Any other discussion? You would do a roll call vote, please?
Treasurer Miller,
Yes.
Trustee Danish,
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood,
Yes.
Trustee Dana,
Yes.
Clerk Baraco, yes. 5 yes, motion carried.
Can you report next month on the progress on that?
I'm sorry?
Can you report next month on the progress and maybe a timeline?
Certainly.
Make sure we're gonna be able to cancel.
Absolutely.
These guys. Ms. Davis, I am so sorry to skip over you. Fire when ready.
pulling up a presentation that I provided. Good evening, my name is Mallory Avis. I'm the Public Transit Director for the City of Battle Creek. Prior to coming to Battle Creek in 2019, I was with the Michigan Department of Transportation for about 7 years. And there I broadly oversaw 22 different public transit agencies, including some of our neighbors in the region, like Berry County, Allegan, Ionia, even portions of Kent County and Jackson County. And I share that with you because when I came into Calhoun County and Battle Creek, there were discussions ongoing about the feasibility of a countywide transportation system. The county had secured a grant from the Michigan Department of Transportation to do this feasibility study with a consultant to address the concerns that communities from around the county had been hearing about the need for robust, reliable public transportation that connects communities within the county. That consultant completed their work in late 2019, early 2020, just before the pandemic started, and I came in towards the end of that. And so I've had the opportunity since then to be able to digest that information, work with the county, the city, all of the local municipalities, and then as well as other transportation providers that exist within Calhoun County, including some private providers. So within that feasibility study, we identified the need for a comprehensive countywide transportation network. And that consultant identified a scenario, some plans, and a timeline for implementation. We took kind of the framework from that consulting group and we met with community stakeholders. And community stakeholders were senior groups, disability advocates, actual providers of transportation that exist within Calhoun County rather than just the consultant. And we all came together as city and government leaders and said, does this scenario fit what we're looking for, or do we need to come up with something on our own? And so we essentially did that. We came up with something on our own, using the Calhoun County Transit Study as the framework, but moving forward. So since 2020, we've been having these stakeholder meetings. We've been meeting with the 4 cities, representatives of townships and villages, and then the city of Battle Creek as the existing largest public transit system in the community as the asset holder and the individual with expertise. Since then, we've drafted letters, one of which you received as a board recently, that came from the county about the possible formation of a transit authority. And what that means for Bedford Township and what your actions are. And so I'm here today to kind of answer some of those questions, give you an example of how we got here, and then what we've done to prove why this is needed within our community since then. So why do we need public transportation in Calhoun County? Calhoun County is unique. When we look at how we compare to our neighbors, we have a definite need when it comes to seniors, individuals with disabilities, and low-income populations. So 69% of our population is under 150% of the federal poverty level. That is far above the national average. We have 6% more senior citizens than the national average, and 2% more individuals with disabilities than the national average. We also have a significant number of households that have access to no personal vehicle. More than 40% of our households in Calhoun County have access to 1 or fewer vehicles. The Calhoun County Transit Study estimated that there was 19,000 trips per year that were being unmet. We now know that that's closer to 26,000 trips per year that are unmet. And that's before we consider any possible economic development that may happen in our county. So in 2019, the city of Battle Creek applied for a grant from the Michigan Department of Transportation that would demonstrate the feasibility of this countywide system. We call that the Calhoun County Coordinated Mobility Pilot, and it operates under the brand of BCGO. You may have heard of BCGO. So with BCGO, We operate 2 minivans across 718 square miles in the entire county. And currently, we launched that in March of 2021. We currently have more than 4,000 unique users that are registered within the system. We average about 160 new registrations per month. And since launch, we've had 88,000 trip requests. Because we're operating with only 2 vehicles covering the entire county, we've only completed about 18,000 trips. And so that's roughly 21%. We're only meeting about 21% of the demand for transportation across the county. Of those 18,000 trips, we transported 19,500 passengers. And so what that represents is that these are multiple people traveling in the same direction. And so we're optimizing efficiency. We're matching people who are traveling in the same direction versus a thought of like a taxi that's taking an individual from point A to point B. All of our vehicles are accessible, and so we can accommodate individuals with mobility challenges, including wheelchairs and walkers. 70% of our trips are booked through the app, the BCO app. And if you haven't already downloaded the app, you can download it through Google Play or Apple, and it's BCO Tappan County is the name of the app. 30% of our trips are shared trips, again, optimizing that efficiency, and that's what separates public transportation from private transportation. Our goal here is to optimize efficiency. So again, we're not a dedicated vehicle taking an individual from point A to point B. Our goal is to pick up multiple people along the way. We offer onboard cash payment. We also offer electronic fare payment through the app and incentivize people being able to buy trip credit. So for example, for $25, you can get $30 worth of trip credit. The idea of this is that it's a coordinated mobility pilot. And so we look at how can we utilize assets and services from other parts of the community, other transportation providers, and operate as efficiently as possible using empty space on other vehicles that already exist. So if you're not familiar with BCO, it's very similar to Uber or Lyft. You can use the app, but we also have a call center. And so individuals can call directly to our dispatch office, book a ride that way, or you can manage your own trips just like you would with Uber or Lyft through the app. With our BCO data, we're able to identify where people are traveling to and what those needs are, those unmet needs that we were talking about. The primary trip purposes on BCO has been for employment, healthcare, and education. Those are the 3 things that lead to personal and economic growth, right? On top of that, we have social services, such as accessing DHHS appointments, rehabilitation appointments, social security appointments. Then we have shopping and recreation as well. On this heat map here, you can see some of our key destinations around the county, with those not necessarily being completely centered within the city of Battle Creek. When we look specifically and dial into Bedford Township, between our launch of our pilot and April of this year, we were about 2,300 trip requests for Bedford Township. Today, that number is closer to 2,500 trip requests for Bedford Township, just a few more months of data. Overall, that's just under 5% of total trips on BCO. So just under 5% of the total number of trips that we have seen come in on BCO. Key locations in Bedford Township are Kimberly Living Center and Bedford Hills. Again, this speaks to some of those challenges that we were talking about that exist within Tappan County that make us unique. Something that's unique to Bedford, however, compared to other presentations that I've given, is that these are primarily residential locations. So of these 2,300 and 2,500 trips I'm talking about, the majority of these trips are residential addresses. They aren't businesses. Whereas when we look at other places like in Battle Creek, Emmett Township, for example, these are destinations, both origins and destinations. So people are, they're a combination of residential and Walmart, for example. In Bedford Township, these are almost completely residential addresses. And so this represents your residents that are using this service, not necessarily businesses that are using the service. When we ask people why they are using BCO, the number 1 answer is because they don't have access to a car. And then the second answer is because it's cheaper than owning a car. Again, speaking to the statistics that we already knew from our census data. The last option is that it's easier or less stressful of a commute. When we asked for open-ended comments about what BCGO meant to people within our community, everything related to independence, ease, and the ability to travel when they needed to, without having to rely on other people. That came from our able-bodied passengers as well as our passengers with disabilities. So when we talk about a county-wide system that's comprehensive, what do we mean? Ideally, this means a system that is fully connected through every township and community in the county. This means that people have access from Bedford Township to get into Battle Creek and vice versa. And why does it make more sense? Well, because it allows us to streamline our fare structures. It allows us to streamline our marketing. It's easier for riders to understand what services are available to them and where they can go. And then it drives down the cost of operating the system as well. It spreads the cost equally across the county. So as we were talking about what a county-wide comprehensive system could look like in Calhoun County, we developed 3 service scenarios. Now, keep in mind these service scenarios are just what we have created, and so we have said this is what we hear from the community about what level of service they're looking for. And so we kind of took that, used our existing operating expenses, and created similar budgets. So we created good, better, and best scenarios. The good scenario essentially establishes the same level of service that exists today. However, we hear that this level of service that we have today isn't sufficient. And we know from the Calhoun County study that there still is an unmet need with the level of service that exists today. So although that scenario isn't recommended, we have given an example of what that scenario could look like. When we move on to the better scenario, we look at expanding access both within the city and within the county. And that takes service later at night. So for example, fixed route service within the city until 9:15 p.m. on Saturdays, and then that countywide service until midnight on Saturdays. Then the best scenario, which is the one I'm actually gonna give a budget example with. It takes city service Monday through Friday until midnight, county service Monday through Friday from 5 a.m. to midnight, Saturday service from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then this is the only scenario that also includes Sunday service. So when we hear from the community, we hear that people want to get to church, grocery shopping, laundry nets, things like that for personal business on Sundays. Currently, there is no Sunday service throughout the county. When we talk about the cost of that countywide system, we are only really looking at this best scenario. We have some assumptions in there. The majority of transit is funded through state and federal grants. And so those assumptions are on the conservative side for revenue, and our expenses are on the higher side, just so that we can reflect an accurate picture. So in this scenario, the best scenario is roughly 1.2 mils. Now, keep in mind that this is determined by a board. This isn't determined by an individual or a transit agency acting on its own. The next steps here are that a board would be created, and you would have the opportunity to get help of a transit system, and that's the letter that you received from the county. So at this time, the county intends to take action on September 7th that would create the Transit Authority of Calhoun County, or the TAC. That transit authority has no power or jurisdiction until it is funded. And so at this time, we're about 12 months out from what would be a millage vote. That millage would be presented to the individuals in the jurisdictions that opt into the transit authority. In this effort, if you took no action at all in the month of September, you would be in the transit authority. To opt out of the transit authority, your board would adopt a resolution to opt out, and then there would be no service, no transportation service within Bedford Township. That also means that a millage vote wouldn't be presented to your residents. That opt-in, opt-out period is 30 days from the date that the county board takes their action. So roughly somewhere around October 9th is when that cutoff would be for Bedford Township. During that period, the transit authority would need to hire a consultant, because at this time the authority would become the transportation provider for the county. And there would be a transition of assets, contracts, agreements, leases, things like that that would need to happen. That TAC board would ultimately be the group that makes the decisions they would be the ones to approve a budget. They would be the ones to determine what service scenario gets selected and, whether or not they want Sunday service or midnight service. That board could say, we wanna run 24/7 and we want it to be free. And then obviously a millage would be calculated based on that, or a budget would be calculated based on that. So the actual creation of the authority itself doesn't impose a tax. It doesn't automatically approve a millage. A millage would still need to be voted on by the people. So right now, we're in kind of that community outreach and education phase, and allowing communities to ask those questions, understand what it means to opt in or to opt out, and what it means to your residents to be able to have access to that transportation. Are there any questions?
I have questions. Can you pop that back up? Can you go back to the budget screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I took the fare revenue of 570,000, and I did divide that by the number of completed trips, and that had an average of $31.32 a trip. I wouldn't pay that.
Yes. So fares are, fares do not pay for the service. So fares are currently on Easy Go anywhere from $3 to $15 based on mileage. So, for example, if you're going from here to Battle Creek, it would probably be a $3 trip. I'm gonna say maybe a $6 trip, depending on where you're going. The $15 trip is anything over 20 miles.
That's not terrible. And then the rest is, it looks like government subsidized?
Correct. So transit is very heavily subsidized through both state and federal legislature. We get operating assistance from both the state and the federal government based on formula grants. So there's a difference between a formula grant and a competitive grant. And a formula grant is statutory versus having to compete for it every year.
Okay. And then you're running, even with the grants, even with the fares, that you're still gonna run a $3.5 million deficit.
Correct.
And you're gonna try to fill that with a millage.
Correct. Or a dedicated funding source, right? That TAC board could say, you know, we wish to seek outside funding for $2 million of that, and we only want $1.5 million to be represented as a millage.
Okay. And then the opt-in, opt-out, so that makes me understand now that because you're charging less for it, in other words, it would cost you money to come, because I was thinking, why would you turn down service if you guys are sitting around, which you want the $50 rather than no bucks? So it seems a little bit strange that you would not service the area if you're not busy. But that's, I'm not part of it. That's your problem.
Right.
I'm just saying, okay.
So, by law, under Public Act 196, the jurisdictional boundaries of the service area are determined by those jurisdictions that opt in to the authority.
Okay.
And so it's what's called closed door service through the areas that opt out. So for example, if Bedford Township opted out, we could drive through Bedford Township to get to a different area that opted in, but we wouldn't be able to pick people up or drop people off in Bedford Township. And essentially that's because if it is funded with a millage, then you have only the communities that are paying for the service are receiving the service. So if Bedford Township is not paying for the service through a millage, then they wouldn't receive any of the service.
Okay, and then how do you know if they're resident? Do you go by a Google address, or do you?
Origin and destination. Yeah, so we don't consider the individual, we consider the trip. So if the trip, it could be a Bedford Township resident who is going from Kellogg Arena or Full Blast to Meyer. We wouldn't know or care based on their residence, it's the origin and destination.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So how many vehicles are we talking? Here's the concern that I have. We're rural and this is countywide.
Yes.
You have a mega site in Marshall and people are gonna need transportation, and I feel like Bedford would be paying into something through a millage and wouldn't necessarily be supported. And the example I'm gonna give is we have, I don't know how many EMS providers within the county. I called 911 once and I couldn't even get an ambulance. So what would that look like for Bedford?
So I wouldn't necessarily be able to guarantee a level of service right now. Bedford Township would have the ability to appoint somebody to the board, or to have the township representative on the board. However, Our current model, that best scenario, I believe was 17 additional vehicles. So we had a total of 13 vehicles on the road at one time.
I'm assuming we'll have a breakdown of the population under the poverty level here in Bedford. So that 69% number, and of course I'm not in support of this, so 69% of the population on the poverty line can all be focused in Battle Creek and Albion. So basically, feels to me like this would be subsidized by our residents for the rest of the communities that would benefit from it.
Let me ask you this, is the millage rate evenly applied through all of the counties?
So that example of 1.2 mils is a countywide mill rate. Yep. So somebody in Bedford Township would be paying the same rate as somebody in Homer.
And is that example of 1.2 mils the example you would need for the shortfall?
Yes, so that 1.2 mil example that I'm giving is the full assumption, it's full countywide opt-in, nobody opts out, full countywide level of service, and about a $4.5 million shortfall. And so that 1.2 mils equals about $4.5 million.
And if you join it and change your mind, is there an opt-out after you join?
At each millage renewal, so the millage is a 5-year millage, at each millage renewal, you would have the opportunity to opt in or opt out. You also have the opportunity to contract for services. So for example, right now, there's nothing keeping Bedford Township from contracting services with the city of Battle Creek to provide transportation to your residents. That's likely more expensive and comes out of your general fund as the alternative. But that's an example that exists in both, Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids, for example. The areas that border an urbanized area may contract for services rather than be part of an employee.
So do you have trouble filling the vehicles with drivers?
Our CDL vehicles, the fixed route service that exists within Battle Creek, we are experiencing a CDL shortage like the rest of the country. We are not talking about CDL vehicles operating around the county. So in this instance, we're talking about minivans, accessible minivans, or mini buses that are 14 passengers or less. And so this is an example of this style vehicle that's rolling around right now. Yeah. And that holds 4 passengers or 2 passengers in a wheelchair.
Right. Any other questions?
Question that nobody's got the answer, I wonder, because we don't have time to poll, we've got less than a month before they want an answer, but I would like to know how many people would be interested in this in our area, and we want to find out.
So residents, we gotta hear from you. Okay.
I will say, hearing from your residents is great. Something to keep in mind is that transportation doesn't exist right now, right? There is no way to get a resident who requires transportation to this meeting tonight, because there is no transportation after 7 p.m. to get them here. So the people who do require this service or who rely on this service aren't able to come speak in this public setting tonight. Just keep that in mind.
Did I understand right though that even if we vote participating, it still has to go to a general vote for the millage to actually do it, right? So we could let the citizens decide.
But if we were to hypothetically opt in, if it doesn't pass in Bedford, are we opted out at that point?
No.
So it's over the whole county.
Yep. So if you do not opt out, then there's one jurisdictional boundary voting on the millage either yes or no. So there is a chance that Bedford Township could vote down the millage that is already included.
Overridden by everybody. So what happens if you get this going and you actually don't get your millage?
So then nothing changes from the way it is today, unfortunately. So the TAC, in order for the millage to move forward, the TAC has to exist. That transit authority has to exist. Because it's the authority that puts the millage on the ballot. That millage language, if we're looking at August of 2024, that millage language is due by May of 2024 for that ballot language. And so that TAC has to exist, have meetings, create budgets, determine service scenarios so that they would know what what millage rate are we talking about to create ballot language by May of 2024? That TAC authority is its own governing body, just like you guys are. It's governed by a board. It's not part of the city, it's not part of the county. It's its own standalone entity. If it doesn't secure dedicated funding that is sustainable, then it doesn't become the direct recipient of federal and state dollars, and everything continues to flow the way it does today.
Okay. So in other words, you would extend it to our area, but that's it, everybody still has to share 2 cars. Was our area included in the estimates for the 88,000 people?
Yep, that 88,000 includes the whole county. Of that 88,000, roughly 2,500 came from Bedford Township. Now, this is just a pilot. PCO is just a pilot, and the funding goes away next year. So MDOT has funded 1 final year, and we anticipate that will be gone by September of next year. And so at that point, the goal would be to transition either into a countywide authority or to phase out PCO.
And there's no guarantees, like you can't set a whole week for the trips, like I gotta be working at 6 a.m. and they're gonna be there. Is that a thing or no?
Yeah, so you can schedule 30 minutes in advance, or you could schedule 14 days in advance. You could get up every morning and schedule your next 14th day out. So we have people who use this service to get their kids to school every morning. We have people who use the service to get to work every day. So there's also the opportunity to subscribe to trips, so then all you have to do is go on and cancel your trip when you don't need it, instead of having to go on and book it every day.
That's nice.
Let's move on from this to something we can flush out next meeting. Personally, I think that our residents.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well,
Thank you.
1.2 mills.
Good
Yeah.
answers.
But on the journey. Mr. Stein, master plan report.
Yeah, so the master plan review will be up on August 15th. We'll assemble all the, any feedback that we did or didn't get will be assembled in, I guess, a packet presentation from Raphael, which we will put in our packet for the public hearing that we have set for the master plan at our meeting on September 26th. So obviously, the board will take a look at that, the public will take a look at that, any comments that we did receive. I also spoke with Raphael today about the zoning ordinance, and it looks like that'll be dropped in our lap right around that same time, right before that meeting. We'll get to work on that. That will take a while to go through as far as that goes. That's where we are on that. Just one point, I just wanted to point out, you had the question there to the lady about Bedford's poverty rate. I pulled it directly from the master plan, which I have in my folder, that's 11.9%, which is under what county is, 16.9. I don't know if that helps. You know, you asked how many people might be interested.
I know, I think it's on Wiki too,
Yeah.
Yep. I promoted that.
Great, thank you. Anything else on master plan?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Budget planning.
We're working on it. We'll start those reviews of current budgets next week with the guidance and other supervisor. She'll bring you up to speed on how that folks actually work out.
Elected officials ready for that?
Yeah.
Look more excited, Joyce. Budget is fun. All right, moving on to item 13, petitions and new business. Resolution 8/10/2341, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the solar ordinance text amendment that was read in at the July 13th, 2023 board meeting and published in the BC Shopper on July 20th, 2023. You all had that last to look at, so I so move.
Support.
Discussion time.
I know PA 116 was removed, which, I think is a good thing. I do think there's been ample opportunity for individuals and entities to provide feedback. I know Mr. Moore brought it up, We did meet with Mr. Moore in August of last year. Consumers has had adequate time to do a presentation for the residents. But I wanna make it very clear that we don't adopt ordinances for personal entities or specific people. It is for the general public. It is for the good of the public. I also wanted to be very clear that this was already approved in 2019. We are just doing what we feel promotes the public health, safety, and welfare of our community. That's all I have.
I did have one question, if I could ask, about the solar ordinances. It was something you said, but how much space do the inverters need for a plot? Because the panels are one thing, but the inverters are another, and it basically, from my understanding, would stick the inverters on the inside of the parcel.
Correct.
Okay, so do they need more than 2 acres?
They have to be laid out so they fit the whole field. So we take a look at the whole amount of property we have, setbacks that we need, and how many panels we just want in a given area.
I didn't recognize you talk. I'm gonna defer to, Mr. Mike on that. We're not looking at making an ordinance to suit you or to help you to do it. That's not the issue.
I
Okay.
asked the question. Sorry about that.
I'd like Mike to answer that. He's got some more research on this and it's unbiased.
Your question again, please?
Okay, I was wondering how much space the inverters needed, because I knew that it sounded like the solar panels weren't the problem, it was where the inverters needed to go.
So, I mean, we looked at several different, I guess, mock-ups. They had a mock-up in the Michigan guide or whatever that they put together. It really depends, at least my understanding, and I'm obviously not an engineer for these things, but it has to do with, you know, where your layout is, how many panels you're gonna have, what your property, you know, every situation, I guess what I'm saying is every situation is gonna be unique, right? Which kind of makes trying to do an ordinance unique, right? Because we don't have a proposed anything in front of us, you know, to piggyback off trustee Greenwood comments, you know, that's why we try and take the best information we have and make an ordinance that we think makes sense. You know, we can't do something unique to one entity or another. But I will say that, you know, we looked at several different things, and your assessment of the 2 acres sounds about correctly. But I think at the end of the day, it really has to do with the overall size of the project and where they need those inverters, I guess, for lack of a better term, put, you know, so that they can, you know, harvest what they're harvesting or however that process works, I guess.
Right, that's what I was wondering. Well, in my mind, it sounds like 2.5 acres for the inverters. It's not the panels, but it's the little inverters. They're so much smaller. So I'm thinking like, unless they need 1 million of them, 2.5 acres worth of inverter land should be enough. So I just wanted to find out like what size they are, if they need, what do you need more than 2.5 acres?
I think that varies based upon the project itself. And again, it's not like we are making an ordinance for any particular project that is proposed or not proposed.
Right, and the project specifically would have to go through the planning commission under conditional use and then go from there. But the ordinance is, you know, township wide.
Just wondering.
Okay, did I answer your question?
I think you did already.
I think some of the concern on the inverters is the noise.
Correct, yeah, so noise is certainly a factor from the research that we, you know, did or were provided, I guess, you know, and where the placement is on those. You know, and again, there are many different solar ordinances out there. You know, there are some communities that exclude solar, obviously. You know, we are not doing that here in this instance.
Right. It didn't look like it was impossible to do, maybe just more on the inconvenient side.
I mean, again, that would probably be my assumption, but we have nothing to base that off of, other than an entity doesn't like it.
All right. Thank you.
Anybody else? Joyce?
Just one.
Ms. Greenwood?
Nope.
Could you roll call vote, please?
Cliff Baraco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
5 yes, motion carried.
All right, resolution 810-2342, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to approve the extension of the existing Metro Act right-of-way permit in Michigan Bell Telephone Company, DBA AT&T, Michigan, which expires on December 31st, should that be 2023, I believe, instead of 3023. The extension is for a term through December 31st, 2028. So moved.
Support.
Discussion.
What happens if we don't do it?
Good question. Seth, do you have any?
I've never seen one denied actually, so, I mean, basically, it's a right of way permit extension for them to be able to install their infrastructure, into the ground. And this from what I took a quick look at this earlier today, and this is a fairly common, Metro Act application that we've seen.
Yeah, and I think they do kind of rental lines or something like that, I think it might go with something from that, so probably not in our best interest to deny.
Any other discussion? Trustee Joyce. Would you call?
Pardon?
Yes, would you call the vote, please?
Oh, yes, I will.
Right.
Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
Clerk Baraco, yes. 5 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. And resolution 810-2343, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve the conditional use permit for Hazen Gardens with the additional 3 specified conditions in our package. Well, Casey's done their homework on this. If any board members have questions, we can have it for by the website. Anybody needs a synopsis on it?
Is it the one on Wabasco?
It's on County Line Road.
Yeah, kind of. This property was already approved once before for a different owner, that's correct?
Right.
And these guys are doing something.
Right next to the motorcycle club.
No.
No.
This is on County Line, just up here.
County Line
Just
48.
north.
Oh.
Just north of
Gotcha.
30 on 48.
Gotcha, okay. I was in
So that property was approved for this activity, I want to say 3 years ago.
This was actually the first one approved.
Was it the first one approved? Okay. My understanding is that they did not, I guess, pursue their right to exercise their approval again. And we now have a new applicant for the coincidentally the same locations.
So this is proper, I still move.
Second.
Okay. Moved and supported. Any other discussion? All make sense to everybody? All right, well, move to roll call, please.
Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Beamish.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
Clerk Baraco, yes. 5 yes, motion carried.
Thank you. Resolution 810-2344. In case we're here, if we need to add something here, Ms. Greenwood, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to appoint Dr. James Barron to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And this appointment replaces Stacia Thornton, who has resigned. So I'll move that. We need to add
So
Zima.
Trustee Dingman had a friendly amendment, so in addition.
What's your ready?
Yes.
He's looking at read exactly what we did. Because of the clerk glare, friendly amendment for resolution of this. To additionally rescind Zozina's ZBA appointment and appoint him to board of review, is what was the previous intent, the original intent.
Do you wanna use it as two different, I mean, you wanna just go ahead with 44 like it is?
We can roll
And
together.
then
If
roll
it's,
together,
if
okay.
it's appropriate, might as well keep it clean.
Any discussion on that? Think we're all clear?
Yes.
Okay. Then if you take a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Venus.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
Clerk Baraco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
5 yes, motion carried.
Resolution 8/10/2345, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to establish millage at .8604 for general operating on all property within the Charter Township of Bedford. In addition, the clerk is to notify the assessor by September 30th, 23, the levy and spread for general operations. This will generate $204,219 for the year 2023. I shall move.
Support.
So this is just a
Sustaining.
renewal.
Yep, no
Correct.
increase, no decrease. Just a renewal.
Just renewal. Thank you, Treasurer Miller. Any other comments, discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Venus.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
Clerk Baraco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
5 yes, motion carried.
And resolution 8/10/2346, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to establish a fire department millage at 1.945, which was voted on 8/7/2018 for the fire operating on all property within the Charter Township of Bedford. In addition, the clerk is to notify the assessor by September 30th, 23 to levy and spread for fire operations. This will generate $461,653 for year 2023.
So moved.
Support.
Exactly the same as the
Just like
first.
renewal.
Yeah.
Yep,
This,
renewal.
this fire is a 15-year.
I was gonna say, I'm
15
surprised,
year.
I'm surprised it's on here, because it's 15 years long, I don't even know if we need it here or not.
Any other input? From the treasurer? Nothing? All right.
Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
Trustee Venus.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
Clerk Baraco, yes. 5 yes, motion carried.
And resolution 8/10/2347, resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Bedford to establish a special assessment district for police public safety effective for the 2023 levy. Further, the special assessment district boundaries are to be established as all the lands and premises in the Charter Township of Bedford. In addition, the special assessment is to be established at 4.5 mils, and the clerk is to notify the assessor by September 30th of 2023 to levy and spread over all lands and premises. The 4.5 mils will generate approximately $1,183,083 for 23.
So moved.
Support.
Again, just renewal, correct, Erica?
It is a renewal, and also do know that it's split up between the fire department and the police contract. So this is not all completely for the police contract.
So it's police and fire.
Police and fire.
Okay. Any other discussion on the board? Your turn, Joyce.
Trustee Venus.
Yes.
Trustee Greenwood.
Yes.
Trustee Dingman.
Yes.
Clerk Baraco, yes. Treasurer Miller.
Yes.
5 yes, motion carried.
We'll get back in the picture. Public comment time.
Can I sneak one on for you? I got something.
Okay.
I should probably put this under new business maybe. The picnic tables that you guys just ordered, they were GL'd under ARPA. So, that means you didn't spend no money. Now, either two things, you can move them from ARPA to the parks, where it should be, or you can tell the parks to keep their money and re-spend it, and maybe they can do another playground. It's up to you guys. So, here's the deal, let me read this to you. 22,000, so, because it's still under, it's GL'd under ARPA, so technically they haven't spent any money. So you still have to spend $22,122.11 by February 15th for 2024, give it back to the county. So you have 6 months to spend that money, unless we move that,
Move it over to,
you wanna move it?
to the parks.
Well,
Unless you,
I wanna
yes,
set
I'm
that
sure.
money.
Do we lose the ARPA money?
So, both of these monies we lose. We'll lose ARPA and we lose the Parks and Recs. Both of these types of monies we have to spend. So it would behoove us to, I mean, honestly, I would make them responsible for another $25,000 just to get it out of the way.
But what else can we use that ARPA money on?
Here's the deal, anything. Right now, you can roll it into the general budget. You didn't do that. Right now, you've dedicated it to basically the water project. And if you don't spend it all, here's your other problem. You're getting all your water project money back. How are you spending it and getting it back? And you see what I'm saying? We're spending it, but we're getting it all back.
So I think
So we're not spending it.
this is something that we should be discussing next month and address
Maybe in the
these
budget.
issues. Yeah, I think this is gonna be a comprehensive conversation.
Right. It's
And
been
we're,
time since
we're
this.
gonna need to, yeah.
Think about it,
So
start
we
thinking
can
about
vote
it.
at the next meeting?
Yeah.
At the
At the
September
next
meeting?
meeting.
Oh, yeah, think about it.
What's the timeline?
5 months by the next meeting. And winter's coming.
Well, let's take it
Yeah,
to the next
I
meeting.
don't wanna do anything on the fly. I want all of the information, is what I'm saying.
And I've got a treasurer's report, but it's gonna wait for my little turn.
Okay,
And
all right.
we should have, solid quotes on the vehicle control barriers for all of the parks, probably by the time you all meet next time.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Okay, too good, Erica.
Good,
Okay,
thank
we'll
you.
go into public comment time. 3 minutes, of course. Quorum is appreciated. Mr. Van Gofen, you're in the front seat there, so you're welcome to go.
Thank you. My name is Peter Van Gofen. Way back before my property was even designated as Bedford Township, when it was still the city of Battle Creek. Randy Johnson was the trustee, and he talked about the importance of borders and boundaries. We're also a nation of laws, and the importance of following those laws. What good is a law if it's not enforced? A couple laws in particular come from the Michigan legislature, laws on election rules. Section 168.11, residence. As used in this act for the registration and voting purposes means that place at which a person regularly sleeps, keeps his or her personal effects, and has a regular place of lodging. There's more, but the pertinent part came on. Section 168.368, the township offices become vacant upon the happening of any of the following events: death of an incumbent, his resignation, his removal from office for cause, his ceasing to be a resident of the township where his office is located. Why is this pertinent? There happens to be a trustee sitting at this table who is not a qualified elector in Bedford Township, not even a qualified elector in Calhoun County. This trustee is in fact a resident of Berry County. I have stated to Officer LaValle of the Commission of a Crime against the people of Bedford Township, that crime being larceny by fraud. This trustee is not qualified to sit at this chair, has not been a resident of this township in excess of 6 months. He has removed his possessions from his declared residence. He's sitting here fraudulently. He's accepting compensation from this township, funds he is not entitled to. That is larceny by fraud. I invite him to sue me if he wishes. This trustee is very English. Deny it, sue me, whatever you want to do.
Thanks for coming. Van Gofen. Mr. Steve back there.
Steve Township, Colonial Drive, where I own property, have no residence there. As a reason, I have not decided to run for election for the board because I'm not a resident of Bedford Township, even though I do have a home and I do have a property in Bedford Township, but as I don't live on the property, I'm not going to declare myself for in here because that'd be fraudulent and I'm not going to commit a fraud. I refuse to do that. It goes against my personal ethics. Now, on another issue, it shows here that we're gonna generate $1 million as a special assessment. Is this a yearly special assessment for the law enforcement of Battle Creek PD? Or is this a special assessment that's being levied upon the owners and property owners of Bedford Township? Is this above and beyond levied upon the owners and property owners of Bedford Township? Is this above and beyond? Could you answer that question, yes or no?
Same as last year, yep, about 800,000 this year for the police, maybe around 200,000 for the fire.
Okay, so this is an every year assessment. This is not a special assessment per se.
Right.
This is an every year we redo this every year.
Right, so then no.
Okay, that's why I wanted clarification, because I'm going, wait a minute here, we're giving BCPD $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 a year, and then we're gonna, on top of that, another $1 million? I hope not. So that's why I wanted to clarify. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Shucks?
Wanted to get right back to straightening out some of the lies that have been told. Our good Treasurer Miller pointed out to the people that the ordinance officer here in town was double dipping and getting paid both his standard wage and then on top of that, getting paid other fees that were not spelled out in his compensation package. The supervisor said from the board that that was false, that he was not getting paid both, he was getting paid one or the other. Such has been found out to be a total lie by her again. He was in fact getting paid both. Maybe that's why he's no longer with us, or maybe he's no longer with us over the incident he was with the previous supervisor pointing a gun at a citizen. Maybe some of those other improprieties, you know, it goes to how we get these people. You know, we got that ordinance officer without opening being made public, without people being able to apply and compete for the position. Much like it seems like we're getting our new zoning administrator, which I'm sure she's a great person and it's absolutely nothing personal, but the process is not supposed to be that we go ahead and fill the position and then make it official later. And that's what happens here in Bedford. And then we keep getting winded up having subpar service, because that's not how you do it. That's not how you get the best. You don't get the best attorneys by having no competitive bid process for attorneys with the best hourly rate for the people here. You don't get the best civil engineers when you have no competitive bid process, like when we get our civil engineers. Paying them, it's going to be into the teens of millions of dollars to extend water service, just extend existing water service from Battle Creek over to a few dozen residences. Meanwhile, just over a little ways, a few miles from here, Vermontville has provided water municipal for their entire village, an entire new system, water tower, treatment system, pumps, delivery, connections, everything, for a little over $3 million for an entire village. That's about a fourth or a fifth the size of Bedford Township. So where's the misappropriation coming from? I guess it would be like when we got our non-competitive bid engineer that was in here snickering about nobody would ever get access to this kind of money again. We better jump on it. But, you know, that non-competitive process, that's like how we got our deputy clerk. Maybe that's why there was no notice to the community on the vote that we just had. Nothing on the township website. Nothing on the township Facebook page. You know, maybe they went up to their minimum standards of posting it in a newspaper that no one gets anywhere. But is that what we're doing, is trying to have the minimum notification that we can to the people?
Thank you, Mr. Sapp. Anyone else wishing to speak tonight? Trustee personal bonus time. Trustee Green, would you like to go?
Sure. I think Mr. McKinley already pointed out that he is getting bids. That's already been clarified. It's been clarified numerous times. Mr. Savio is retiring. He will be missed. So we are looking for a replacement. Other than that, thank you for coming. It's been a long meeting, but we appreciate all of you being here.
Christine?
Just read and cover the voice, so
Alright. It's lovely that people are crusaders. It'd just be interesting if people would actually crusade for something that doesn't have an axe to grind. And while you're going through my house to see what my personal belongings are still there, keep your dust and vacuum, please. Zoning admin, Karen, thanks for filling that position. That's an interim position. The definition of interim, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. It's interim. If Miss Lewis cares to continue on her position, she'll be interviewed and hired by the board. I really appreciate that she's here, even behind on getting permits, because our residents deserve to have somebody in the interim doing work. So my hat's off to Mr. McKinley for hiring an interim person to fill that position. If you have a problem with interim, you probably have a problem with everything. Joyce?
So.
Erica, who wants to go first?
Mine's short. There were 519 voters that turned out. We had 80 voters in person. They should have put the Lions Club to vote in person, 80 for the whole day. It was advertised. This school district mails out advertisements as well. I take offense. I take offense to my deputy being called out. She is amazing. She does a lot of work, not just in the clerk's office. She will help anyone, anytime. And for you to say that about her is not okay. So I mentioned at every single board meeting that we had an election again. Go Lake, Hastings, at every single board meeting. It was in the newspaper. It was posted in the lobby. It's on the news. It's everywhere. So that's what I got.
Ms. Miller, you got some stuff?
Okay, treasurer's report as fast as we can. We'll just let you have a copy to take home if you can pass those down. We're just gonna whip through them. Give you an overall number. The general fund is broke down, and you can put those online for everybody to see. General fund has 4.5 million. Road fund has 1.1 million, and it's gonna have a $33,000 overage that'll go back to the general account. Because the general account paid some of the road fund anyways, because the road millage was a little bit short, you couldn't get your millages off on the main highways that they were originally calculated. So when those got taken away, we were short, general paid for it, so anything interest that came off of this account will have been refunded to the general. Sewer fund has 565,000 in it. Trust and agency has 312 in it. That's just an in and out. And tax fund has 50,000 in it. And it says 396, but the next day I wrote checks out because that's also an in and out. It comes in and it goes right back out. So it actually ended up having about 50,000 in it. Just wanted to put that in there. Parks and Recs, we closed that. A, the vacancies were being taken out and they were just sucking the account dry. And B, yeah, I know. And so we moved it, refunded it, got a refund, moved it back in, no problem. And
they have like a free account for it.
I know. That's what I thought. I was like, man, this is crazy. So we put everybody together in the same account in the general. I guess gotta make sure the accounting principles say that's okay.
Okay.
So far. You're separated out, you still have your own exact
So we
line
have
items
separate,
here.
we're in the same account, but we'll have separate reports.
Yes.
Okay.
So you have reported separately everything that happens. I try to pay attention to where your stuff is GL'd and how much is spent. I noticed your big receivables weren't spent.
Right.
And then the general ledgers, we don't want to add to it if we can't keep up with what we got now. And we might be a little bit behind on it, and you're going to come in possibly Sunday and see if we catch it back up. And just for the record, I did come across a board meeting from July 25th, and I don't know who put this on here. And I thought it was a resolution, so I was kind of mad when I saw it at first. But it says, Management agrees to timely and accurate cash reconciliations, will improve controls over the township's cash accounts, which will enhance management's ability to make informed decisions. Procedures will be revised to ensure the treasurer's office will reconcile the bank statements in a timely manner. Now, I tried to tell them 50 times, I'm not the reconciler of the bank statements. So we're gonna have 2 people do this. You never want one person handling both. I brought all the paperwork to show. Right here. Duties must be segregated among different people to reduce the risk of errors or misappropriations. No one should have control over all aspects of the financial transaction. An individual is not to have responsibility for more than one of the 3 transaction components: authorization, custody, record keeping. If I have custody of the accounts, which I do, I will need a second person to record keep, which we have. But it's getting mixed up, I think, with the new people. 3 different times the supervisor asked me why I didn't do the budget. I'm like, budget's not me. Why I didn't reconcile accounts? Reconciling's not me. I can't do that. I tried to tell her, and here we go again on another thing that, so let's get that straightened out again. Accounting principles, I'm following them to the T. We've highlighted all 80 pages of their book. We're following it to a T. So I will not be reconciling the general accounts. I will be reconciling the cash accounts, and then we talk together and make sure those 2 numbers are the same. Just for the record.
Okay.
That's it. That's it.
Supervisor's not here, so we'll skip over that. So item 18 is due. We'll adjourn the meeting. Next meeting, September 14th, same time, same place. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I have to have a building, what I did, and it's your responsibility to get those people aware that are under you to make do their job. I'd like to know why it's
I was, say I wrote your weeks ago, and I need to see a doctor before I see a doctor the next day. You were just saying that there's about a 2-week window that I need to let you know that I need to go. So if I need to see a doctor, my doctor just called me today and said, hey son, there's some Monday morning at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And you guys can't do that for
Well, talk about me, but you don't want to talk to me.
Know their schedule or know
Right.
what future appointments. You book those in advance and then you're not worried about it.
I don't think
The
so.
important part that is that everybody that I've talked to in the past has told me that they're having to schedule out 2 or 3 weeks in advance to be able to go see a doctor's appointment, and anything less than that, they're not able to get right.
Right now, we're only in 2 vehicles, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where you've seen
Well,
that.
now you kind of apologize to it. That's what right now is being funded by federal and state and local grants or otherwise, right?
Yeah, so right now, that BC Go pilot is only $8.
For 1 more year.
Yeah, it's the 3rd year of operation for us, all the same.
Okay, so if Bedford Township, which is on the outskirts of Calhoun County, we're up in the corner. Okay, we opt out. Right now, you guys do provide some services to some of the Bedford residents in this area. We opt out at 1.2 million.
Good night, guys.
Go ahead. What a lot of people understand is, okay, let's say I live in a $30,000 home, 1.2 million is not a big deal. But if this guy here lives in a $400,000 home, he's going to pay a lot more millage than I am for the same exact service. Not even use it. Yeah, I don't use the schools, but I still pay schools. Exactly, there you go. We just go back to school.
But you want an educated community around you, don't you?
What's that?
You want an educated community around you.
Yeah, I pay for that. They're not being educated anymore. They're indoctrinated anymore.
I think a retiree should have tax exempt.
I agree.
If my mortgage paid, if I didn't have my taxes, I wouldn't move my home.
I've been paying for it for 4 years.
I'm finally back from
No,
vacation.
this is what I'm concerned about.
Sorry, Sergeant Newlands.
I see you.
I'll remember them all of it. I'm sorry. Yeah, 13. Long meetings.
Bad memory. Oh, yeah, I've got to go down.
Well, if like the last complaint you do, you know, it needs to be public for crime or activity. My mother was very near to the one dispensary we have here in Bedford. So I'm there all the time.
Neighbor, which they're not talking
Repeatedly, and again, just recently, I saw them over there repairing cans and another reason. We've only got the one here in town, and it seems like they get broke into on the regular, you know?
At one point,
Yeah.
we say,
I know it's out here towards the end, yeah.
how much money is that going to cost me and everybody else for my services?
I need to get LaValle fast as well.
We're going to use this service.
Okay, but maybe just a little bit more attention.
95% of the population can do whatever they need to do without needing any assistance. 5% needs some help. Why isn't the other 95% available? Why do we need to keep taking money out of our?
And I'm not telling you, I've run vehicles there after hours on more than once already.
You're trying to provide it.
Right. Yeah, I don't feel obliged for that whole plate number when I just don't know if somebody could have just been sitting there innocently, you know, I just want to make sure there's not any kind of, you know, there's been expressions of sentiments about, you know, we're not going to watch the beach schools as much, they need to get their own security kind of thing. They've got good security there, you know, not deep.
Get a right. They take this store, that store, that store, this store,
Well, we just approved all that money, so.
I live in the neighborhood.
Appreciate you.
All my neighbors know this is 19 years old. They know if they have a problem, they can come in. No matter what it is, day or night, it makes no difference. If they have a real legitimate problem, I'll help them. If they have a car issue, I'll help them. If they have a tractor broke down, I'll help them. If they have gear up, body armor, I'll take care of it. We don't need to be CPD. Okay, we take care of our own in my block, in my neighborhood. We take care of our own. And it's very all bad people know if you mess with this house, that house, this house, that house, this house, you may not go home that night. You know, it's better than neighborhood watch, trust me. We take care of business. So my question to you is, you know, increasing the millage on millage. So how much are you hit me for? That's 1.2%. It's 2.4%.
right now, right? I hope you don't have to.
I will never,
right?
I will never, no, I will never use I have too many brothers and sisters out there that I pick up the phone and make phone calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Someone's going to show up and take care of whatever needs to be taken.
And that's where your was.
I have
I think a lot of people don't.
I have a question about the initiative too, ladies. It's been asserted by quite a few people that mega site project going in Calhoun County here is going to be planning on getting its water supply from the city of Battle Creek, something to the tune of over 700,000 gallons a day.
They handle transportation of BC.
Battle Creek has great interest in that project going through. And quite a few people have asserted also that the project has a demand that there be a countywide public transportation system to encourage the new workforce to be here in the county. Is there anything you can speak to on that?
All I would say to that is that this initiative has been going on since I came in 2019, and it was going on before that, long before
Well,
Sun House Board.
it was already kind of shut down here in Bedford, and then now it mysteriously came right back after we heard that it was being forced through by the mega site group.
No, this is the first time that the county is voting on it, is September 7th next.
No, here in Bedford though.
What do you mean?
Here in Bedford, it had already been shot down.
The authority, the transit authority. So this is the first time the transit authority is being created. There hasn't been an initiative.
We had already discussed whether or not we would
Opt in or opt out of your program.
At a previous meeting?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And they had opted out.
Mr. Shah,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
calls for business.
The county didn't
We're
take
asking
any
now,
action.
everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Please.
sir. Thank you, Mr. McDonough.
I got a question for you. Do you know? Okay.
I gotta run.
Off the record.
No, I gotta run. Seriously, I do.
You gotta run?
I gotta run today.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
You don't run nowhere. What is a quorum? What is a quorum in Bedford?
Oh, you're very
4 or 5?
I think it's 4. I don't know. I didn't look at that one. Can I catch that maybe something?
Dennis, you got your keys?
I'm just looking for Barry.
I haven't seen Mary.
Yeah, just turn the air conditioning back up, so.
That's Mallory Scarf. She did the presentation. You want to make sure you guys had.
Good. I turned the air conditioner back up. Oh, look at that. That's why I got notes in my pocket. I haven't closed that up. Got the trailer for it came.
Before you leave, you had a nice meeting. Ran a nice meeting tonight. Really good. Kept it on point.
We're going together. We're going out that way or we're going this way?
Let's go this way and walk through this church.
Okay.
I'm running this.
You locking the door?
I will. Can you make sure that door's locked?
It is.
Thanks. Get out of here, Dennis.